Hello everybody, it's WJ here and welcome back to Heimstadt. I hope you've all had good holidays. I surely did. It's been a few very busy weeks. I unfortunately couldn't find the time to make more videos. Luckily, Verumpositor was so friendly to make a guest episode to fill the gap. If you haven't seen it yet, do check it out on his channel. The link is in the description. Today I wanted to start off with an overview of the city and point out some areas that have been detailed off camera. Like this communal yard in between this block of houses. I like how lush these gardens are, with a lot of stairs in between. It would be nice to have a barbecue here with all the neighbors. Then we move over to the offices of the public transport company. Stadtverkehr Heimstadt, or SVH. I created this very simple logo and I wish I was better at making assets, so I could make a bus with the logo and stripes on the side. Maybe one day when I quit my job I'll have the time to look into that. But for now, I'm perfectly happy with the Man Lion City buses by Revo. In the meantime, we take a look at the small park and the graveyard, with the Second World War monument. Then over to the Radingen district. After Verumpositor and I sent the save game back and forth, about 50% of the buildings were missing in this area. Thanks to the export function of MoveIt, I could easily place the buildings back. But a tip for others who like to share save games, make sure you have put every asset you've used in the collection. And when you link collections, make sure the other party knows about it. I still really like this little market square and how busy it gets thanks to some event people generators. And for some reason I also like how simple the backside of this shop gets interesting, to me at least, by just putting down a lorry. And this guy standing here, probably waiting for the lorry to drive backwards so he can unload it. But he can wait a long time, I mean, it's just a prop. These buildings form the transition between the Altstadt and the Radingen district. I placed some shops down, but this would be the perfect place for the luxurious shops by Raccoon. Sadly, they weren't on the workshop yet when I built this, but they're in my Heimstadt building collection, so if you're curious, you can find them there and check them out for yourselves. And now we go to the latest addition to my beautiful city. The water palace built by Verumpositor. I think it fits in perfectly and I love what he has done. This area reminds me somewhat of Erdenholt, so let's check out the backyards. Yep, looks fine to me. And here it is, the palace in full glory. I've used these Palace Eisenach buildings by Titan as well for the Abbey in Erdenholt, but by simply changing the color he really turned it into a different building. Funny how such a minor change can alter the look of a building completely. I also like this half-circular parking place and the boat ramp. All in all, I'm very pleased with this palace. On this side of the artificial lake, or giant moat, a nice birdcage, the Herzogliche Falknerei, or Ducal Falconry. And I really like this little restaurant here, with the promenade next to the lake. All in all, this building works really well here in Heimstadt, as you can see in this aerial shot. Let's move over to Erdenholt. It's actually quite close to Heimstadt, so maybe when Heimstadt grows large enough, the two places will meet one day. The roads connecting Heimstadt and Erdenholt will change over time. What I have now is just a temporary solution. At the moment both places have just one highway connection, so all the traffic towards Adenholt has to go through the city first. And with a population over 9,000, it might not be a good solution for long. But I have some plans to rework the highway network quite extensively. Future plans. Oh, I have so many of them. I love how you can really make out the different areas. The old center of the town, the luxurious neighborhood, and the more modern row houses. And those highly detailed backyards. The glorious Abbey of Adenholt, with a brewery on the side and a lot of boxes containing very tasteful beer. I like how busy the inner yards of the abbey are, although the paths aren't optimally placed, as the people tend to walk through the bushes. On the backside of the abbey we have some farm fields, where they grow mostly barley and hop, of course. Now back to Heimstadt to take a short look at Wolfburg Castle. Go through some buildings and stop at the concert house Heimstadt. This is the city so far. I hope you like how it looks. But now we move away from all this residential stuff. The people of Heimstadt are in dire need of some jobs. So let's build some giant factories. This area will become the Heimstadt Steel Industries. Today we start with digging out the harbor and place this coke factory. More info on that later, but now let's start the time lapse. I start the harbor by lining it out with roads. It's a lot of trial and error, and I've cut out most of the errors. But right now I'm making the harbor way too narrow, so I'll change that later on. There will be a coal harbor, an iron ore harbor, and a third area for gases, liquids or something like that. Steel industry produces a lot of gases that can be used for various things such as power production and whatnot. I'm not really an expert on these things, so if you know more about it, do share in the comments. I love Move Its Align Height option. You can just place down roads and don't have to worry about the height, especially when you're reclaiming land. You can just keep the roads forced to the ground and align them afterwards. At first I tried a network key, but I didn't like the rounded corners and I thought it would be easier to just place some older seawall assets. They function as parks, so without the toggleable whiteness mod, your screen turns white. While lowering the land, I realized the harbor was way too narrow. So I can start again, laying out the roads and replace all the seawall segments. After I'm done lowering the land here, it takes some time for the water to settle. And for some reason, every time I open my saves, the area floods again, and I have to wait until the water has receded. Luckily, there is the flood damage control mod, so my buildings won't collapse. It is, of course, in my mod collection in the description. For the Cokes factory, I used the coal power plant building by Avanya. It's not exactly rusty and worn down enough for my taste, but it's a beautiful building nonetheless. And it comes with nice conveyor belts that I can use to transport the coal from the harbor to the factory. In a very imaginary way, of course. Coke is a fuel that is exceptionally well suited for use in blast furnaces, where iron ore gets melted into usable iron. The cokes are made by heating coal in the absence of air, to get rid of impurities. Again, I'm no expert. I'm not using cokes to heat up my vegetables, although in the past they have been used that way. Right now the building is way too close to the harbor, so it will be moved later on. For the harbor I wanted to use the bulk storage buildings by Avanya, but sadly I wasn't subscribed to them, except for one, but that wasn't looking good on its own. So I started putting down the piles of coal by Ronix, and I decided to remove it and just go with the piles. In a later episode I'll probably place them back, because they do look better than just some piles on the ground. Talking about the piles, they come in color variations, which means I have to put down quite a lot to get enough black ones. I'm also setting aside the dark grey ones to function as iron ore later on. To move the factory back, I place a road down so I can align the conveyors. I felt the building was too small, so I copied everything to double it in size. To connect them and turn it into one building, I placed a couple of simple factory buildings, also by Avanya.
I want to break through your walls. I want to give you everything, but you don't seem to care at all. You can have me, but you just wreck me. Do you want to kill me? Then just kill me. Go on, feeling fucked up, sitting on a shotgun, getting you to notice that I'm the one for you to lean on. Come here to be strong. Misunderstanding me is everything that you've done. Feeling fucked up, sitting on a shotgun. When I tell you you look good, you think I make it fun, but I wouldn't dare to. You can make me swear to, but whatever I try, you just shut your mouth and run. Every time I do something nice, you just look away, let go of some. You can have me, but you just wreck me. Do you want to kill me? Then just kill me. Shut your mouth.
On the backside I place a railroad, so I can use trains to move the stuff around this giant complex. I took some inspiration for this area from the steel industries here in the Netherlands. There you can see railroads everywhere, and pipelines for all the gases. They will come here as well, eventually. To load the coal hoppers, I place some more conveyors and some PO doors to create an actual exit for the cokes. A second look made me realize the building was too perfectly aligned and rectangular. So I just rotated it and moved the parts to create a more interesting layout. Which meant I had to edit the coal piles again. And also move the conveyors and doors. By the way, for the train tracks, I'm actually using the vanilla ones. The big railroad mod wasn't out yet, but to be honest, I don't think I have enough RAMs to support it. So for now, I'll stick to the ugly vanilla ones. And that's it. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or suggestions, do leave them in the comment section or join the Discord. If you have seen any assets or mods that you would like to use yourself, I have 3 collections that are linked in the description. One for all the mods, one for the buildings, and one for all other stuff, such as props, roads, vehicles, etc. But beware, do not download all of them at once. You need quite some RAM to use all of the assets. I advise you to just look through the collection and only subscribe to what you like. But before you subscribe, do read the description. There might be some stuff you have to do to get the mods working. I would like to thank you for watching, and if you liked this video, give it a nice thumbs up. I hope to see you next time. Hello everybody, it's WJ here, and welcome back to Heimstadt. I hope you've all had good holidays. I surely did. Yeah, that's terrible. I'm gonna start again. Good job. Sorry, I placed I placed some shops down. Why did I write you? That's really strange. Again, I do like how busy the inner yurts. Like trigger jobs, but completely different. Come on. Although the paths aren't optimal. I like how busy the inner yards of the abbey are, although the paths are aren't optimally.